Urza is a very strict person, often criticizing the bad behavior and habits of the other guild members, causing most of them to apologize, fearing that they might invoke her wrath. She's also very impatient, disliking people who don't answer her questions quickly enough. Urza describes herself as someone who was always crying since she wasn't able to protect those dear to her. Many of her armors are skimpy, revealing and feminine, and when out of armor she has an affinity for sexy and revealing clothing. Urza seems to have no problem with men seeing her naked. She felt no discomfort stating her desire to shower with Natsu and Gray are the fact that she used to shower with them when they were younger. When they were at the hot spring, when she learned that the boys may have been peeping on her and the other girls, she wanted to invite them to bathe with them, much to Wendy's shock and Lucy's strong objection. Laxus was initially portrayed as arrogant, overbearing, selfish, and prone to make fun of his own comrades. He believed himself to be the strongest member of Fairy Tail, and looked down on those he considered weak, heavily reprimanding their weakness and even resolving to hurt them whenever they stepped in his path. Laxus seemed to care very little about his fellow guildmates, usually suggesting that they had to give him something in order to acquire his help. In one of such instances, when he was asked for help during the Fairy Tail Phantom Lord confrontation, he also proved himself to be quite lecherous, offering to help his comrades out only if the big-boobed Lucy Heartfilia had become his girlfriend and Kenna Alberona had stripped before him. However, after his excommunication, it appears that his attitude has changed. He seems far more light-hearted and serene, and apparently has grown fond of the guild in his current state. He was also willing to take all the responsibility of the crimes for himself, in order for the Thunder God tribe to remain members of the guild, even encouraging them for the time being. Lucy takes exceptional pride in her appearance and is very confident in her sex appeal, often exuding a certain amount of vanity. She's a clever, kind, and genuinely caring person. Lucy is passionate for literature and is in the process of writing her own novel about her adventures with Fairy Tail, although she doesn't like telling anyone about it. She's a member of the Heartfilia family, once one of the wealthiest and most influential conglomerate families in the country of Fiore. However, due to her estranged relationship with her father and the death of her mother, Layla Heartfilia, she left home to follow her own path, which displays an ambition for independence. Lucy is very kind to her celestial spirits and refuses to utilize them as shields or think of them as such. She fights alongside her spirits and treats them as friends. While her powers are normally not as overwhelming as her teammates, Lucy has proven to be a capable combatant herself, often using her cleverness to her advantage and thinking outside the box during battle. She has eventually inherited Natsu's stubbornness and refusal to give up, even when the odds are against her. Lucy usually freaks out at her guildmates' antics. Unlike most of her friends, she does not get very excited about fighting and is not quick to resort to violence as the solution. However, she does admit that being around her guildmates is really fun. Being a celestial mage, Lucy always keeps her promises. She gives her all for the sake of her guild and friends. When Lizana was younger, she was very kind like Elfman was as a child. She wanted to help Natsu Dragneel raise an unknown egg to see what comes out of it, being a little more knowledgeable than Natsu. After seeing a softer side of the usually flamboyant Natsu, she stated that he was a lot like her sister and joked that perhaps later she should become his wife, which predictably freaked him out. Whilst raising the egg with him, he learned it was impossible to win in an argument with her. Lizana apparently likes animals, especially cats, but she hates studying. Because of her personality, she can easily adjust and be accepted by anyone. Truvia is first introduced portraying an emotionless face, seeming more secluded from everyone, including members of the Phantom Lord Guild. After she joins Fairy Tail, she develops a happier demeanor. She's obsessed with Grey Fullbuster to the point that her jealousy and paranoia considers anyone who remotely gets close to him a rival, even if they show no interest. When Meredy threatened to end him, Truvia lost her calm demeanor and entered a somewhat satanic-appearing state that frightens Meredy and even Urza. Truvia also seems to have a slight masochistic side. Upon making a mistake, she asks Grey to spank her as punishment, saying it's her hobby. She's also very polite towards others, typically addressing others with honorifics. She cares deeply for Fairy Tale and its members. Upon entering Fairy Tale, she wasn't feared or hated for her past relationship with Phantom Lord, and she maintains a good relationship with the other members. She's also shy about her body, as she doesn't like to shower with other girls. Truvia tends to refer to herself in third person, and often says drip, drip, drop due to the rain she used to constantly bring everywhere with her. Truvia has a wild imagination in which she tends to fabricate relationships and love rivals. At one point, she thought those in the guild were being intimately close before realizing it was all in her head. Having spent a long time living with Gray, she also appears to have affectionately adopted or picked up Gray's habit of shedding clothes spontaneously. In her younger years, Mira Jane was known as the Demon, and before Lysana's pseudo-death, she used to be a very feared person, infamous amongst guilds and criminals alike. She dressed in a punk gothic style, and was rather temperamental and bad-mouthed everyone, especially Urza, whom she had quite a rivalry with from when they were kids. Despite this, she had initially been very withdrawn and held reservations about who she was due to her demon-like powers, even though Makarov assured her that it was just a type of magic. Mira Jane questioned whether she was even human, due to a past incident involving the apparent death of her younger sister, Lysana. Mira Jane somehow lost much of her magical ability and her will to fight, both of which have since returned, and her personality changed drastically. Now, Mira Jane is a loving and caring person who treats her friends, and even strangers, with kindness. Mira Jane plays a motherly role within the guild, and is often seen running the bar at the guild hall. She has rarely been shown to be in a bad mood, and can tolerate all of the guild's eccentricities. She likes cooking and has since her younger, tomboyish years. Mira Jane was described by Lysana as being a good cook, preparing food alongside Elfman for the three takeover siblings. She dislikes cockroaches. She is sensitive to being called stupid, as shown when she cried due to Gray unknowingly calling her an idiot.